In this section, we will talk through the network and partnerships findings. As the previous sections reflect, a strong advocacy ecosystem contains many different roles and perspectives, but also should be one that is able to collaborate, share resources, and take collective action, and one in which the voices of the communities that historically have had less power and privilege are centered. To build greater understanding of which organizations are more likely to collaborate, share resources, or hold power over decision-making in shared spaces, the survey gathered network and partnerships data by asking respondents to list up to 5 advocacy partners or coalitions that their organizations view as key partners, and then by analyzing their responses against the rest of the data to identify characteristics, perspectives, and priorities of organizations more or less central to the network. The resulting network data serves as a reference point for developing an understanding of advocates, their relationships, and how the network structure supports or constrains advocacy. This advocacy ecosystem includes 350 organizations and 438 connections. The ecosystem network is visualized here, showing organizations that are centrally located in the network and organizations in the periphery of the network. Those that are centrally located in the network are more likely to be connected to one another. As you look at the network, organizations surrounded by lots of lines are more likely to be connected. Organizations on the outside that do not have any lines were not named as partners by any of the organizations and are only connected to their own listed partners. The light blue circles represent organizations that serve people of color. The dark blue circles represent organizations that are both led by people of color and that serve people of color. The yellow circles represent organizations that are neither led by people of color nor serve people of color. The gray circles represent organizations that are missing data, likely meaning that they were a listed partner and did not complete the survey. In general, organizations that are serving people of color are as centrally located in the network as organizations that are not serving these communities. We wanted to check some of the characteristics of the top 10 most central organizations. We found that all 10 work at the state level of government, while 8 work at the federal level of government and 6 work at the local level of government. 9 out of the 10 seek to serve individuals with low incomes or low wealth. Less than half serve communities of color, as well as individuals who live in rural communities and individuals who are workers or employees. None of these organizations worked in counties with a sparse advocacy presence, which we define as counties with 4 or fewer organizations. In the following slides, we'll share some of the findings about characteristics of more and less central organizations in the network. While some of the data points shared throughout the rest of this report were not very different between more or less connected organizations, we found some significant differences in terms of issue areas, geographic focus, meaning serving sparse counties or not, lived experience populations, organizations being led by people of color, and advocacy targets. First, looking at issue areas, we found that organizations that focus on issue areas including fiscal or tax policy and reform, democratic representation and participation, early childhood education, and economic opportunity are more connected than average. On the other hand, organizations that focus on issue areas including environmental health or justice, homelessness, civil rights protections, and anti-discrimination are less connected than average. We also looked at organizations working in sparse counties to compare these to the network average and found that these organizations are on average less connected to the network. As a reminder, sparse counties are defined as those that have 4 or fewer organizations working there. To take a closer look at these counties, refer back to the first video or section 1 in the report. We also looked at the centrality of organizations seeking to serve or represent different lived experience groups. Organizations could select more than one category here, but overall we found that organizations seeking to serve families, individuals who are underinsured or uninsured, individuals who have chronic illnesses, our workers or employees, our businesses, parents and guardians, and women are more connected, while organizations seeking to serve individuals who are LGBTQIA, who are or have experienced homelessness, who have been justice involved, or who are veterans are less connected. As we noted in the first network map visual, organizations that seek to serve or represent communities of color are about as central as organizations that do not. But when we compared organizations that are led by people of color with the entire ecosystem, we found that organizations that are led by people of color are less connected than the average network. And finally, comparing levels of connectivity by advocacy targets, we found that organizations working at the state level of government are more connected than the average network. After reviewing the networks and partnerships data, reflect back on your organization's partners. Does the network data reflect your organization's reality? How does your position in the network impact your work? What would an ideal network look like to you?